Hey everybody, this is Mariah Day. I'm the Executive Director for the Kansas State Rifle Association, and we're joined by a special guest today from halfway around the world. Please join me in welcoming Megan Hilbish to the call. Hey Megan.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can, or I can anyway. Hopefully others can too. Anyway, everybody who's watching, feel free, if you have any questions for Megan as this goes forward, feel free to drop them in the comments. We'd love to give her a chance to answer the questions and kind of talk about what she's doing and how she's representing the USA over halfway around the world. So anyway, Megan, tell us where you are and what you're up to.
So I'm currently in Baku, Azerbaijan, representing the United States in the 300-meter rifle events. For those of you that don't know what 300-meter means or is, it used to be in the Olympics. 1972, I believe, was the last year 300-meter shooting was in the Olympics. So basically, I am shooting a rifle, a center fire, high power bolt action rifle, single feeding, one shot at a time, so no magazine. I'm shooting 3 positions, prone, laying on the ground, and only using a sling for support to hold the rifle into my shoulder. So I'm not using any kind of bipod or bag or front rest or rear rest or any support other than literally a sling, and then I wear a shooting suit for a little bit of artificial support and stability. And then, so we have prone. Standing is offhand, completely unsupported, so no sling whatsoever. It cannot be on the rifle. And so in standing, it's very difficult. You have to literally stand there on your own with no support. And these rifles are heavy. Like mine weighs over 10 pounds. So you really have to have a good fundamental position using the bone support to get your center of balance and actual point of aim and all of that to be very steady and on target. Then we also have kneeling, which is one knee down, one knee up, and you have to have your front elbow holding up the gun on your front knee up in the air. So basically, I use a kneeling roll underneath my right ankle, and I have my left elbow on my left knee. So those are the 3 positions, the 3 different events that I'm here to do. I qualified. I'm the only female for the United States that qualified in all 3 300-meter events. The first event, which practice will be on Friday for, is standard rifle. Saturday will be my first day of competition. So there's 2 other Americans shooting standard rifle with me, both men. One is Tim Sherry on the Army Marksmanship Unit, AMU shooter, soldier athlete. And so he was the bronze medalist, 3rd place in the world at last year's World Championships in Egypt for standard rifle. And I was very grateful to place 2nd at nationals to him. And then Brad from Minnesota will be our 3rd person for our team for the United States for standard rifle on Saturday. That standard rifle is restricted in that the trigger pull has to be over a certain amount, the overall weight of the rifle has to be under a certain amount, and the overall length of the barrel has to be so short, the distance from the iron sights in relation to the height of the barrel, bore axis has to be within a certain amount, no hook on the butt plate. There's certain rules in standard rifle that do not apply in free rifle. So if you can imagine free rifle, it's more forgiving in the rules. There's a lot more, there's a higher weight for the max weight that the rifle can weigh. You can have a longer barrel, so a longer sight radius, because mind you, these 300-meter events is all iron sights. And if you've never seen the rifle shooting in the Olympics, I definitely recommend looking it up. Or watching some of our videos here, like the 50 meters small bore rifle events. That's basically what we are doing, which small bore rifle is still in the Olympics. However, our event is 300 meters away. We're shooting with a lot more wind and mirage. Weather factors definitely push the bullet around a lot more. Even though we're shooting a bigger caliber than a small bore or a rimfire 22 long rifle, we are shooting center fire, high powered rifles. And the calibers that I'm shooting for standard rifle is a 223 Remington. It's a Tikka M595 standard rifle. Um, and then for the free rifle, I am shooting an Alicio chassis Remington 700 short action. The caliber is 6mm BR, which 6BR is pretty much the most common, most popular caliber for this game. Standard rifle, free rifle, for 300 meter across the board, most people are shooting 6BR, especially throughout Europe. And so, yeah, like I said, Saturday will be my competition for standard rifle. And then on Sunday will be the free rifle prone competition. So it'll be 60 shots in prone. And then on Monday will be the free rifle 3 position. So just like in standard rifle where I have to shoot prone, standing, and kneeling, I'll shoot 20 shots in each position with the free rifle on Monday. And so the free rifle 3 position, 3x20, and the prone event that I'll be doing, those are both women's only events. So there's the men's and the women's teams here. And then for standard rifle, it's everybody combined. And what's really neat, and I'm very excited to do, is I'll be the first female representing the United States in standard rifle ever at the World Championships, because it used to be men's only. Like 2 years ago, the ISSF, International Shooting Foundation, changed the rules to allow anyone, any men, women, whatever age, gender, whatever. So it's very exciting that to be here, I had to qualify by being in the top 3 at nationals, which are USA Shooting national match for 300-meter rifle shooting is in Elk River, Minnesota, once a year, a week-long match. And I placed in the top 3 by getting second place to Tim Cherry, the AMU shooter, who was the bronze medalist last year in standard rifle. And so no women were in the top 3 last year, and this year I was the only woman to be in the top 3 at nationals. So it's really neat to be that kind of groundbreaking person for the ladies, to be the first female ever to represent the United States in standard rifle at the World Championships. And of all places, it's here in Baku, Azerbaijan, which today I got to take a little tour of the city, which was nice to see. It is a very nice city for the most part. It's great to see this part of the world. I've never been anywhere close to here before. I probably wouldn't have traveled here unless for the World Championships or representing the United States in another match. So this is actually my first World Championship, and I am hoping it is the first of many. So my goal is, yeah, to be making international matches every year, whether that's in 300-meter shooting, small bore rifle shooting, you know, what have you. My goal is to do the best that I can, you know, and represent the United States to the best of my abilities. And I honestly do believe that every time that I shoot a competition, every shot that I take, I'm not only bettering myself as a shooter, but I'm also bettering myself as a person and as a coach. And everything I learn here, I can take back home to Emporia, Kansas, and to the Kansas State Rifle Association, and the events and the trainings and the coaching that I do, and especially to help grow the sport and keep the sport alive. 300-meter shooting is very small in the United States, unfortunately. And like, this was my first year shooting the 300-meter nationals. I didn't even know it existed until a year ago, when one of the other ladies here representing the United States let me know. She was like, Megan, you shoot small bore rifle 3 position. Why do you not shoot 300-meter 3 position? And I didn't even know it existed. So I'm trying to help change that and make more people aware, educate people that shooting is a legitimate sport in the Olympics and college. You can get a college rifle shooting scholarship to go to college on a rifle team, NCAA Division I or II or club level. You can get a college scholarship for rifle shooting or pistol shooting or shotgun shooting. Unfortunately, in the state of Kansas, there are no college rifle teams, but hopefully one day that will change.
Hopefully we can change that.
K-State used to have a team, but unfortunately that got disbanded many years ago. But there's a great history of really good shooters that come out of the state of Kansas. So I'm very proud to be representing, Emporia and Kansas as a whole, and the Kansas State Rifle Association. I'm honored to be the secretary this year. But what's really neat is halfway across the world, I get to meet someone for the first time from the state of Kansas who is also here representing the United States, and that would be Derek Main. He's shooting the men's trap very well. He's been shooting all over the world this year. He was telling me about all of the many different countries he's traveled to just this year alone, representing the United States. He is in very high contention for the Olympics, so be paying attention next year. We'll probably have a Kansas person in the men's trap for the Olympics. Derek Main, I got to talk to him briefly this morning before he went to the range, on our way out to the range. And he was hoping to make the finals, which he did. So the finals for the rifle events is the top 8 shooters. I guess for shotgun, it's a little different. And so it was the top 6 shooters. He made the final, as well as his teammate for the United States, Will Hinton. They both made the final in the top 6 out of the world, which is impressive in its own right?
For sure, absolutely.
Unfortunately, they didn't medal. It looks like they got 4th and 5th place. Derek taking 5th place, which is still incredible.
Incredible shooting. Incredible.
There's the best of the best here. At the World Championships, there's countries that send their best shooters, just like we do, to try to win Olympic quotas for the Olympic events, or just to be the world champion. So it's very tough competition here. The pressure is on. And it's just incredible to see so many people performing at their best, setting world records, like the United States 50-meter small bore rifle women's team. They got the gold medal as a team, and they set a world record, which is just outstanding.
Incredible. Yeah, for sure. Great. Well, everybody that's watching, anybody who's just joined us, we're talking to Megan Hilbish, who's over in Baku, getting ready to represent the U.S. In the 300-meter rifle competitions, and she's been telling us about that. Megan, could you tell us more about kind of behind the scenes? What's going into your training? When do your training sessions start? When does practice sessions? When do those start? What are some of the nitty-gritty details of how you have to prepare once you're over there, once you're ready to compete? I know you were telling me today has been kind of a crazy day. It's obviously 9 hours ahead there, but you've had a long day already. And you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So, the people that are here at the World Championships, many of my fellow competitors have been here before. So I'm grateful to have Denise Lowring and Michelle Boren. This is like their 3rd or 4th World Championships for 300-meter rifle shooting for both of them respectively. And they've been a great mentors to me of navigating this process. Also, I would like to shout out to Peter Durbin, the USA Shooting National Rifle Coach. He has been a great help and resource. So this is my first World Championship, so I had to register with the ISSF, the International Shooting Foundation or Federation. So there was an issue with my registration, which made it a little bit more complicated.
Made it difficult.
Than it should have been. So today I was at the range again. I was there yesterday trying to get registered and officially registered for the match. And there was an issue with some ISSF officials not being where they were supposed to be to basically get my ISSF registration squared away. So this morning, I got up bright and early. Even though I don't practice until Friday, I wanted to get this taken care of as soon as possible, just so I knew I was good to go and to have time to go through equipment check-in control. They call it equipment control, where they check all my equipment and shooting suit and gear and the rifles and everything. But to be able to go through that, I had to get an ISSF ID number as an athlete, registration number, basically. So eventually, after over an hour of waiting in a hallway,
the exciting aspect of being an international competitor, right?
So, at least it was an AC, air-conditioned building, because it's very warm here. It is hot. It's not like the 90-some% humidity like in Kansas has been. So I'm glad it was 100 degrees the last, week or whatever, because that helped me prepare a little bit for this heat and for shooting in the heat. It is warm. It's going to be warm on the rifle range, especially with the full shooting suit on, but it's not like the humidity. It's a dry heat. So it'll be doable for sure. And I think growing up in Kansas with the wind and the heat definitely has helped prepare me to shoot in all kinds of different weather conditions.
Yep.
But back to the ISSF registration, I finally got my ISSF ID number, which will be nice to have for the next time I come to an international match. Hopefully this will be a lot easier. And so then I had to get a competitor number. And so once I had my competitor like badge and bib with both of those two numbers, then I was able to fill out a form to be able to go to the equipment control. So first I took the two different rifles that I'm shooting, the standard rifle and the free rifle. I had to have them both checked thoroughly. They weigh them, measure them, check everything on them to make sure they fit within the rules. And rightfully so, because, you know, everyone here, we're not necessarily playing on an equal playing field, but I would say the rules definitely make that you know, more equal across the board from all these different countries, people using all kinds of different rifles and gear. And honestly, I think when I set down one of my rifles to be weighed, they looked at me kind of funny. These ISSF officials from another country, speaking other languages that I don't understand. And I think they had never seen an Alicio chassis rifle, which shout out to Barry Alicio in the United States for making a great rifle. Well, the chassis at least. And then a KKB machine butt plate. That's also a Minnesota, he's a Minnesota gunsmith machinist that made a KKB butt plate that I added a hook onto. And, you know, I don't think they had quite seen a rifle quite like my free rifle before, but it passed. So, you know, I tried to make sure of that before coming here, that everything was good to go and was going to pass. But you just never know. Every country's a little different. And, you know, some rules, you know, sometimes you have to say, like, okay, if you're saying there's a problem with this, show me the rule. And if it's not in the rule book, then it's, you know, they have to be able to prove that it's illegal or not allowed with backing it up by the rule book. So I was able to get both rifles passed through with no problem. Then I had to have all of my gear checked, which means, so everything that I'm using on the firing line, my shooting coat, my shooting pants, my shooting boots, my belt, my sling, excuse me, the kneeling roll, the gloves that I wear, excuse me, the shooting glasses. Yeah, so
you wear or use.
The hat or visor or anything, sweater, literally anything that you will be using, they have to check and make sure it meets rules, which rightfully so. Thankfully, I just had to move a few buttons to pass through with no issue and got through all of the equipment control. And so that's a big relief because now
that's awesome.
I can just, you know, kind of hang out. I'll go back to the range tomorrow to watch some other events, some other American shooting pistol events still going on. If shotgun is still going on, I'll go out there and support them and watch them. But our rifle practice officially doesn't start until Friday. But if they happen to open up the range sooner, I would gladly jump on the range and get some practice in tomorrow.
Get some practice.
But I don't expect it. The range has to actually be converted from the 50-meter small bore range. They have to take down a wall that's removable for the last 40 firing points because it's an 80-point range, but they take like 0 to 40 and take down a wall. And instead of it being 50 meters, they move the small bore targets out of the way, and then our targets are already out there. You can see them from the highway 300 meters away. And so basically we shoot from inside of a little building that has 3 walls and a roof overhead. And then it's open on, you know, at the firing line that the shooters are at. It's open to the outdoors. And so then everything is outdoors from where the firing line is on. So literally all the wind and the mirage and everything is a factor for what we do or any kind of weather conditions. And especially so because we're shooting 300 meters distance, which may not seem like far, but that's over 3 football fields. And the size of the 10X ring that we're shooting at is 50 millimeters, which is a little less than 2 inches. So if you think about it, that's like trying to hit a golf ball 3 football fields away plus some. and using no bag support or bipod or anything like that, literally like for offhand standing, unsupported, trying to hit a golf ball 3 football fields plus away. It's very difficult with iron sights too. So.
Well, you won't have any issues from lack of trying. You've definitely put the practice in, been to a lot of matches, and done very well here in Kansas and obviously across the country too. Tell us a little bit about your most recent match here in Kansas before you left.
Thank you. Yeah, and I do appreciate that. I will say that, you know, the champions here aren't made a champion on match day. They become a champion by the hard work and the effort and the hours of practice, blood, sweat, and tears, literal, you know, hard work, and reloading for our sport in 300-meter rifle shooting is paramount unless you can afford factory brand new ammo, which isn't very available in the United States. So I reload. So you become a champion by the number of hours that you spend ahead of match day. You know, you have to be prepared to be able to compete at the national or international level. And especially at this world stage when it's very close to the Olympics, everybody's on their A game trying to win those last few Olympic quota spots. Even though my event is not an Olympic event, it is still very difficult and very challenging and very competitive. In the United States, we want to continue to improve our team. And to do that, we all individually have to compete well and improve individually to have our team do better in the world rankings. And so anyways, to your point about the match that I just shot, so the Saturday before coming here, I arrived, I left Kansas on Tuesday. It took like 35 hours to get here with layovers and whatnot.
Exhausting.
Multiple flights, but made it here uneventfully. All my flights, you know, were not canceled, no issues getting my luggage, the firearms, the equipment bags, all my, you know, luggage here, made it safely and on time. Unfortunately, that's not the same for some of my fellow competitors, some of the 300-meter shooters, and even Sarah Beard, the small bore rifle gold medalist for the team. Some of their luggage didn't make it here with them on the same flight.
That's rough.
So unfortunately, it can be a little bit more stressful when the airlines have some mess ups or, you know, mistakes.
Right.
So I'm just thankful that all my luggage and everything made it here safe. But before I came here, the Saturday before, I shot in DeSoto, Kansas, Mill Creek Rifle Club. We had a 600-yard mid-range match. It was a lot of fun. You know, you should come shoot it sometime, you and your wife, and any of you KSRA members, reach out if you're interested. We'll have firearms that you can borrow. You know, just have to basically pay for the ammo and the match entry fee, and to come try out a match or just come watch and see what it's like, because it's really fun. We'd love to have you out there at the range, even if you're not a KSRA member, although you should be, right?
Absolutely. Doing
so
my
that
work
was
for me.
yeah, that was a fun 300 or 600-yard match. So 600-yard prone mid-range match, as we call it in high power mid-range. So you shoot laying on your belly with your elbows, you know, up, supporting the rifle, only using a sling in the prone position. Although there were F-class shooters, which use a rest or contraption of a vise, kind of like front rest, or AR tactical shooters that shoot off of a bipod and can have a higher powered scope. But in mid-range, you can have a scope on the rifle. It can be an AR-10, an AR-15, a bolt-action rifle, center fire calibers 223 and up. I was shooting my 300-meter free rifle because that's what I'll be shooting in the women's prone event, and I'll be shooting prone with it in the women's 3-position free rifle match. So I needed a little bit more training with that gun, and at 600 yards away, I figured if I could get good at reading the wind further out, then I will be better at reading the wind at 300 meters. So it was a very challenging match to use with iron sights, given I was shooting against everybody else shooting with scopes. But you shoot 20 shots for record, and then you get a break, and you shoot 20 shots for record again, and get another break, and another 20 shots. So a total of 60 record shots plus sighters, and I did pretty well. It was
You say you did
windy.
pretty well.
Well, so the mirage was very thick. the wind and mirage made it difficult to see, especially with the iron sights. If you've never seen or looked through iron sights before on a rifle like the type that I'm shooting, and if you're come to a match, I'll let you look through my sights and see what it's like, because it is challenging. And I shot a 197 and 197, and then a 200 out of 200 possible with I think like 12 or 14 X's, which is really not that high of an X count. But yeah, the fact that I shot a 200 out of 200 at 600 yards away with iron sights, and I was on the third relay, and in Kansas when we had 90% humidity, it was literally 100 degrees or more on the firing line. And it was challenging, and I really enjoyed that match. I felt in control of my shots and where they were going.
Excellent.
And in relation to the corrections I was making for the wind and myself, that I felt in control, and that's always a good feeling going through a match where your shots are on call and going where you think they should be, or even if you make a little bit of an error in your sight picture or something in the shot process doesn't go right, if it's on call to where you think it should be off, that's also a good sign that you're in line with what's happening. And I was able to read like the mirage and the wind that day pretty well. So yeah, I was glad to shoot a 200 out of 200. But there was a guy who was out there shooting with a 42 power scope, which is allowed. Don't get me wrong, that is perfectly allowed in the rules for a match rifle with a 42 power Night Force scope. And he shot a 600, a 200 every time. He shot a 600 that day. That was Dave Phillips out of Missouri, and he's a good shooter. I have a really high respect for him. I shot at Camp Perry in a 2-person Hirsch doubles team match with him last year at Camp Perry, and I believe we were like 10th or something like that in the nation. And we didn't even have that great of a day at Perry for that team match, but still, it was fun to shoot shoulder to shoulder with high-level shooters, even though they may not be here at the World Championships doing what I do for 300-meter shooting against really good shooters, especially that we have in Kansas and Missouri. That pushes me to be a better shooter and on top of my game, and to stay focused on every shot through the whole match. It pushes and challenges me when I'm shooting iron sights and they're all shooting with scopes, because that means I have to work that much harder, but I know I can do it, and I am capable as a shooter to do that. And I have found when I challenge myself, I often rise to the occasion, or I figure out what I need to do better or different next time to do better, perform better.
For sure. Awesome. Well, we don't want to take up too much of your time, Megan, but if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments here, or any comments, encouragement for Megan as she represents the U.S. and represents Kansas at the World Championships. Megan, how can people connect with you? We'll put comments in the comments section with links to your profile and that kind of thing. But how else can people connect with you and get updates from you?
Yes, so you can find me on social media, Megan Hilbish, that's Megan, and then my last name Hilbish, Hilbish, on Facebook. Also on Instagram, TikTok, 10X Chick. So that's 10X Chick. So 10X Chick, because I'm trying to hit the 10X, the center of the 10 ring every time.
Awesome.
Also, if you reach out through the Kansas State Rifle Association, like I mentioned earlier, I'm glad to be honored to be the secretary this year. We have a lot of great things that we're planning for the future. Make sure to check out or think about coming to the Kansas State Rifle Association state matches this fall. For high-powered rifle, we have one at Mill Creek Rifle Club in September for across the course, 200 to 600 yards, AR-15 shooting, slow and rapid fire in 3 position. Then we have the KSRA state match for mid-range, 600 yards prone, in October in Hutchinson, Kansas, at the Central Kansas Gun Club. Those are both really great matches. We've been fortunate to get sponsors and donations that I've had a big part in helping get, so that people can come away with something, whether you're the last place shooter, a beginner, whatever, or you're the match winner. everyone comes away with a prize, or at least they did last year, if not 2 prizes. And there was scopes and barrels and shooting gloves and equipment and different things like that that are actually useful for us shooters, or especially people just getting started in the sport. So even if you've never shot a match before, don't be afraid to come out and check out our state matches this fall in September and October. Otherwise, we have monthly matches going on there as well. And be paying attention. Maybe here in the future, we'll be having some KSRA training camps or something like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we appreciate it, Megan, and hope everybody goes and checks out your social media and gives you a follow, and watches for those updates as you compete over the next few days. Yeah, we're really proud of you, Megan, and proud that you're there representing the state of Kansas, representing the Kansas State Rifle Association on the international stage. And we're also excited that we have not one but 2 Kansans representing our state internationally this week. So good work with that. That's it for today, folks. Feel free to check out kansasrifle.org or the Kansas State Rifle Association social media for continued updates, and keep cheering Megan on as she competes over the next few days. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you. Good night.